Hey everyone. All right, before we get started, first, quickly, think of the most beautiful view you've ever witnessed, or one of them. I've asked this earlier today and got a lot of really great answers, but I'm really curious what comes to mind when I ask you to think of the most beautiful view that you've experienced. Well, if you haven't been here before, welcome to the Innkeepers Weekly, where every week I'm going to share a little bit of the work that we're doing in the Connected Fathers Coaching Program and JourneyMen, where, if you don't know, JourneyMen and the Connected Fathers Coaching Program is a special group for men, for fathers, who are going to work to connect more powerfully with themselves, with one another, and importantly, with their kids, their partner, and their community. In the doing so, we evolve and change and grow a better story of masculinity and fatherhood, stronger one, and one where partners and partnerships really drive kind of how we stay connected. Anyway, this week we're working with the guys around telling your story and how important it is to intentionally share and tell parts of your story in your everyday life. Because who we are and the reality we live in is driven and impacted very significantly with how we tell and who we tell and share our stories and who hears it and how they see us and how we see ourselves. And so if you remember last week, which there's a video for that as well, we talked a lot about bookmarking, because if we have a hard time remembering sort of the good stuff, the valuable stuff, the meaningful stuff, there's a real reason. Our brains, for survival, our neurology, we're wired to remember the hard stuff, the dangerous stuff, the risky stuff for survival. And so it's very easy to remember the things that brought up guilt or shame or mistakes. And these things, men are really good at finding ways to guilt and shame ourselves and unfortunately others, right? But we can build new pathways in our minds and in neural pathways, and also just in our own hearts. We can build pathways and plot lines for stories that represent what is most meaningful and most valuable to us. But it takes a little bit of energy, right? We have to be intentional about how we bookmark the most important parts of our lives. And this brings us to views, right? We've been sharing a number of different techniques with the guys about how you can bookmark these preferred stories and how you can save them. And there's a number of different strategies. I can share more, but we do a lot of that in the group. One I want to share with you today was born from a beautiful view of mine, one that was one of my favorites. In 1999, I hiked a majority of the Appalachian Trail. I came off early after having a mystical, magical experience, and ask me about that if you want. That's a story for another time. But I started in Maine and went north. I went south all the way to the southern point of Virginia. And up in Maine, you were above tree line every day, several times a day. You were getting into the clouds. And when you saw views, you saw more and more wilderness. And it was just gorgeous, raging rivers and beautiful, magical spots. And it was great. But then you went south, right? And after a while, the mountains were not above tree line. Maybe you got an outcropping or, you had views, but most of the views were where there was, artificial, clear cutting to let power lines get through the mountain, right? And so you'd be walking in the beautiful woods and you would emerge into this artificial clearing, most often with graffiti and pylons and the hum of electricity. And still you had hikers and, day hikers and people stopping and oohing and eyeing about the view. And most often, more often than not, the view was of lots of development down at the base of the mountain. At that point, I decided I wasn't stopping there. I'm not taking pictures from that with the hum of electricity. I didn't know, I did sometimes, but it wasn't the space that I wanted to take in the time that I lived for months in the woods, right? And so it all happened when one day I sat down. I'll never forget. I went off the trail for a little while to take a rest, and I sat on a fallen log and I looked around and something clicked. And I saw a bunch of salamanders scurrying by, and I saw 5 or 6 different mushrooms with all different colors. And There was moss on a neighboring rock that was flowering in a way that I've never seen, and the trees above me were shimmering. The sunlight was coming down, and I tell you, it was the most beautiful view I've ever seen. It was as majestic as being on top of the mountain in Maine. It was as incredible as seeing, for miles and miles, in the ocean, or any sort of view. And came up with this idea of the difference between a micro view and a macro view, right? A macro view, you're top of the mountain, you're on the top of a skyscraper, you're in your office and you can see the entire skyline. It's amazing. There's nothing negative that I want to say about that. They're incredible. And they're part of the adventure, right? You get to the mountain and you get to see this view sometimes. Um, but micro views hold something very special, because micro views can be found while you're washing the dishes, while your kids are doing homework, while you're cleaning the toilet and listening to music, anything like that. Every moment in your mundane everyday life holds the key to a beautiful micro view that you can bookmark. And so what I ask the guys in my group is to really look for those. Look for the micro views. Look for the times when, you look around and you can almost feel that your values and the things that you care about are being lived right there, right now, under your nose. And so, I want to encourage everyone, again, go back to what you said the most beautiful view you've ever seen was. If it was a micro view, awesome. Give me a thumbs up and let me know if that's where you went. If it was a macro view, beautiful. Let me share with it. Let me know where you went. That was beautiful. And I want to encourage you to also notice the micro views, whether you're hiking and you get to the top and you want to see like something in the woods, or more likely in your everyday. What are the micro views that you can catch and you can bookmark and you can use to develop a stronger, more connected story between you and your family and the ones you love? So find some micro views, share them with me, and let me know what you think. If you want to learn more about the Connected Fathers coaching program, you can get in touch with me here. And I would love to share with you some of the work we're doing. We're actually starting a new cohort soon. So I'm looking for fathers who are interested in connecting more powerfully, becoming more confident, and being more present with the people they love the most. So if that's the case, share this, get in touch, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Have a wonderful adventure.